Hello, yes, I'm here. And then you've been something a bit into details, kakra. The last time we looked into functions, and today you be objects. Make I say we will following up with the way I think say to helping you guys to quickly catch up with it. So today we'll be doing objects, and in the first video, no, we did a little bit about objects, but today too, just like functions, maybe call into details about objects. Now, objects in real life, because for example, a car is an object, right? A human being is an object, right? Now, yeah, and say object comprised of two things, properties and methods. These are the two things that would describe an object: properties and what methods. Now, yet when like I said, properties now we are referring to like its physical properties and the way we can describe something, right? And the methods are like actions that it will perform, okay, or we will perform. Okay, so for example, see a car is an object, right? Now a car will have a model, right? It will have a color, right? Yes, it will have a make or the year or whatever, and that those are the properties of a car. Uh-huh. And a car will have like engine start, brake, whatever. All those things to become methods of a car, right? Because you would start the car, I mean you ignite it, and then you would accelerate, like the car will move, you know. Yes, so all these processes are methods, and the way you access various information from it is those are the properties, right? So with much talk, no, yeah, with combining a lot of the things we've learned so far with variables and functions and object. That's how programming work. It's always going to be here. Then the next time, no, you would apply the same concept again, and then you would use it all over again. It never said you ever create an object, object, right, as a car, and then we would know how to create the properties, and then we know how to create the methods. Okay, now it depends on actually the object, the kind of object I will create, and the purpose are and then you either decide to create a method for it or you won't create a method for it. And the methods are functions, but when a function is inside an object, it's called a method. If you don't get yourself confused, right? Method, they're the same as functions, but just that when it's inside um, an object, a friend method, just like the way when you are passing in values to a function, we call it parameters, but when a function is receiving them, they call it arguments, right? So, exactly the same thing here, nothing to be confused about. With enough talk, let's get into it. As usual, when you see a creative function, I started with other let const, I mean a variable, I started with other let constant as a var. But with this particular instance, I'm going to use let, okay, because you know already why we use let when you're creating a variable because of the scope, okay. Now the car is this. Now last time, no car is from the first video. We start with an object with this, that they're opening and closing curly brackets, okay. Now this is how we create the object, and then we define the property names, okay. And so we can have a name of the car, and let's call it Toyota Corolla. Is it double L or A? I have no idea. Now, when you define a property of an object, and let's assume that you have multiple properties. Last time we said that we separate them by a comma, okay. And the way we assigned a value to a property is using the double colon, okay, the double dotted. I don't know how to call this, but this is a symbol we use. Let me actually increase the font so that you guys can see it like the last time. Okay, yeah, so that's how you define the property name on the left side, followed by this symbol and a double dot or whatever. Then you give it the value, okay, that you're assigning to the property name. All right, now the next thing we would create is let's say a type, and we know this car is a saloon car, right? Okay, now let's say what again, make or whatever, model or whatever we call it. Let me just say Toyota company, right? Okay, so this is a simple object, and this object has three properties, and the properties are name, type, and make. Okay, so this is an example of how we create a simple object. Okay, the last time we learned about how to access a property of an object by calling the object name with a dot notation and then the name, or the property type that you want to access the value from. So if you wanted to access the car name, we would just do console log. Because we want to log to the console, we type console.log and we type in the car dot the property name that we want to access. Now we want to access name, and we refresh to see, and you can see that we are receiving Toyota Corolla, right? So that's how it works. Now we can also do type, okay, and just like remember the type of the car, and you can also do make, okay, and we would get exactly the same response that we were looking for. There's another way you can also access property of a method, okay, of an object. You just do this. Just like you are accessing array with an index. This time you do the double opening and closing square brackets, and you type it inside a string of the name of the property name. So we want to access name, okay, and when we refresh again, we would get it Toyota Corolla. Or when we do saloon, we would also get Toyota Corolla. So what yes, I need to type in type, not saloon, and let me just save it. Let me save it quick. All right, let me get saloon. So let me just write down the two different way. Console.log car.name. Okay, so you can either access a property. You can access a property of an object with dot notation, then the name of the property. Okay, now this has to be a comment. Okay, so this is how you do your or. Let me just do it again. Or access property of an object by using square bracket where the name of the property. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to explain to you. And one I am has said to say, okay, so what I say a property of an object, Biana, you will just do the dot notation, or you can use the square bracket styling. Okay, the last time somebody asked that why I mean for colon m, but in JavaScript it's optional. If you like, you can bring it, and if you're not going to bring it, make it consistent. Bring it if you're going to bring it. If you're not going to bring it, don't bring it. Okay, so I am more or less like I don't like bringing it because it's optional. When we go to those languages that are required, I do bring it inside, but I like to make my code simple, look nice. Right, it is how to access a property of an object. Now let's create another object. You know how to access its method. Okay, so let me create another one. Let person equals an object. Okay, an empty object. Now a person will have a name. Okay, let me just use my name here. All right, and the person will have an age. You want to see my age? All right, a person would have like, yes, let me just do this. First name. Let me do last name. Yes, I have an age. Let me have city, Accra. Let's do address, city 438 Kinomet, Accra, right? Let me just do this. So this is a simple an object with properties, and with properties, when you are assigning a value to a property with the dot notation, the double dotted, it doesn't matter. And for you can either let it be closed or you can just stick it around. How in the added, it depends on how you want it to align or look like. Okay, way up a bit more one line. Okay, just like as far as you are separating them with command, you are good to go. The computer understand. But if you break it down like this, it looks readable and quickly to access the value inside it. Now let's assume that we wanted to receive the full name object we a bit trouble back. You see the full name. So this person has a first name and a last name. So you see the full name. What we do this time, you need to write a method. Okay, so the method would return the first name and the last name of a person in like a full name. So when we call a person like, hey, what's your full name? You see a person supposed to respond, oh, my full name is Mohammed Bashir. Okay, so that's how we're going to create it. And we start the same thing. When we're creating a method, what we do is that we give it the same name as we would give on the property. So let's say a full name. Okay, and this time we start by writing a function, because as I told you earlier that methods are functions, but when they are inside an object we call them methods. Okay, so you make throw functions, then as usual you try, then opening and closing parentheses, then we would just do opening and closing brackets. Okay, now at this point you know about functions. If you have any parameters, we passing them in here. If you're not passing any parameters, we don't need to pass anything here. Okay, just like when you're calling a function and it needs a parameter, you need to pass it inside, or you can create a function without a parameter and then you won't pass anything inside. Okay, so this method we are returning back a full name mi is never said. We will start with this. Now just look at this keyword here. Now anytime you are inside an object, you want to access its property, you start with the keyword this. So that this will tell the object that yes, like then I start with the dot. Okay, then I start with the first name. That means we can say what first name, like you yourself, I need your first name variable or your first name property, and then it would tell me that the first name is this. Okay, the reason why we would do this is because if it means a variable be what has it, then it's called first name. Okay, because let's say John. Okay, let's say first name is called John somewhere here. Now when you don't do this and you do just first name, it's going to assume that it is this guy that you are referring to. So it's always important that you bring in the this. Okay, so that you tell the object that I'm referring to this object first name, or this object property. Okay, the property name. And then when we are combining strings together, okay, so we want to return first name and last name as one sentence or one word. Okay, so what we are going to do is we need to do something we call concatenation. And in programming, when we talk about concatenation, yeah, particularly say, combine two text together, right? Two strings together. I'll say that are two strings together. So let's say, for example, let A equals A, right? Cat is, all right, this is a simple string that's a cat is, and then they say let B equals my pet. Okay, now if we want to write, and now let me just comment all these guys, we'll come back to that so that you would understand what I'm trying to do here. Yes, I believe all of you need to comment it up. Okay, so let's comment these guys two out. Okay, now let's try to console.log a and see what happens. Now when we console.log a, it says cat is. Okay, now we do console.log d, and then what will it say? It says my pet. Now let's assume say like you're combining with any one sentence. All right, maybe you are thinking like you do console.log a and then you do console.log d, but hey, let's look at what happens when we try to do this. Oh boy. Let me press on the wrong key. Now let me save again and refresh. Okay, so my character is, it's what? My character is, so it says that cat is my pet. You see, it's not one sentence, like it's not on one line, it's like it's breaking. So say per se combining or more, what will we do? So that's what we need to do, something called concatenation, is combining the strings together to form a sentence. Okay, so what we do is that we create another one variable again. So let C equals, and the way we do it, you do A plus B. Now in programming, there are in JavaScript per se, the reason why we had data types, and when if I had, normally we know that the plus symbol for addition, right? Yeah, summation. But when it's a string that say a string, when it's being like the prefix and the suffix is a quote, then it's a string. So and string, it will concatenate it instead of summing. Until the last time I variables on somebody types and made a mention say if you write, let's see, let price equals 100 and let cost equals 100. Oh yeah, BBC, you cannot do mathematical operations on it because this is a string and this is an integer, and you cannot subtract or you cannot do mathematical operations on a string and an integer. It will throw an error or it will concatenate it for you. Okay, so it based on what you want to do, just take note of that. If you want to do summations, make sure their numbers are both integers before you try to work do mathematical operations. So this is how we concatenate. We call the various parts and then we add the plus symbol to concatenate it. Okay, so now this time now let's console.log c and near console.log c as a refresh here. Once I see has the cat is my pet. Okay, so it has formed one sentence. This is exactly what concatenation means, combining two strings together and yet confusing there. This is how it all works. Now over here, may the spaces bar around. That is why in here you space was one first space and bar. Now say, oh yeah. But say a back boom, say when the cat is my way. I have to the space bar has the spaces are very important. You know, you always make sure you leave enough space so that your text can always look readable and okay in your eyes. Okay, so that is all about the way how I concatenate strings. This is quite fast for concatenation of a string. You know. Now let's go back to your initial project, and we wanted to return the first name, the full name of a person. Okay, so let me on console log these guys, uncomment these guys here. Sorry, now I would uncomment this guys. Okay, so back and now we want to return the first name. So if we have an idea, we need to bring the plus symbol and do this again as we're accessing this property dot last name. Okay, now let's see what happens when we call this object. So let's console to the let's console it out to the window. Log. Okay, now let's do this. Now the way we access a method is just like the way we call a property. It's the same name, but this time I'm not sure you should call a property with a square bracket, a method with a square, but just call it with a dot notation. That would be good. So we will try and see if it works as far. So we call a person dot full name. Okay, and once we call something as a function, we know what we have to do. We need to bring in the double opening and closing parentheses. Okay, and if there was any argument that a function is expected, we needed to pass them here as parameters. Okay, but this function here expects nothing, so we just leave it as empty as that. We will try more properties and then other stuff that would require, or method that require something, and we pass them inside. So you see how all these things put up together. Now, as if you take note of when we say last time I did a function, now your object the function appeal. That is why I was saying that it's very important that we start from the lowest level, then we start writing web pages and we start interacting with all these things. So don't see it as boring. It's very important, because if you don't understand this part now, won't be as say you jump straight to code. I won't be as the fun where we say near test near say. Okay, fine. What happened? A person is this, and I was trying to access its full name. Okay, and I'll say undefined, which is a bit weird. Let's see if I take off this. Oh, and I try again. Let me console log these guys so that I'm only expecting you pet to give me a response. And we got a function. Okay, it returned to us a function, but yes. Now let's go back to our previous example when we did this. Okay, now since anything we would assign a value to, let's say, a variable, or we would process a data and we're only trying to console it to the log, okay, to the window here. Now if we don't do a return as I told you the last time, so a function has to return something. If the function is not returning anything and you call it, it will look as dummy as it's not working, but then it's working. So we call this function without asking it to return anything. So when we run it, it says undefined. Okay, nothing has been defined, nothing was returned. And when nothing is returned, we will get something like undefined. Let me do this again, and you see it says undefined. Nothing has been defined. So always make sure a function a return it be a function that you need to get a response, and make sure every time you put in a return word. And we learned from the previous videos that return will be the last thing to execute from the function. When it reaches there, it's dead. It won't run anything again from the function. So once we do return something like this, let's see what happens here. In case we are getting Mohammed Bashir, but there's a problem here. There's no space in between that. And the way we do that, if you want, you can come back here and put a space here like this and try. But I'm not sure that this is useful, especially say what kind of various people I say or combinable and useful. To what you obey and say, you will also concatenate an empty space with your the variables until here first name or last name. You be here space before second name number. Into what we do is the person another plus sign about near about empty space. That's how it works. So at this point, if you're able to understand this, then trust me, you are so close to writing full-time applications and good application, because this is all about programming. These are the things that we'll be doing all this time. Since we see that's how we refresh here. Everybody say about Muhammad Bashir. Same way as we added the space here, you can also concatenate with an empty space. Okay, the way we create a space is using the quote. You can either use single quotes or double quotes, a string, and then you type in space. Okay, that is all about it. Until now, at this point, you're more quite fast. You create an object, you create a property, and then we create a method and how to access a method. From the other side, now you will note that we could call a property of an object using a dot notation with the square bracket. Okay, but at this point, I'm not sure we can do this. All right, let me just try it out for you to see undefined. So always access the methods, or let's say the functions inside the property of an object. And let me say it again: the functions inside an object, call them with the dot notation. Okay, so just do the dot and the name of the function with the opening and closing parentheses. Okay, so at this point, you won't quite first one you create an object. Let's do one more object. You will pass it in a parameter for the function to receive it as an argument. Okay, so let's say we want to know the age of, let's say, what do you want to create? We need to create something that would return it. So let's do this. So let's cart. Okay, so shopping cart. Now this is a shopping cart. Okay, equals. Now so this person has gone to the supermarket and he has a shopping cart, and then he has items in the shopping cart, and each of the items has, let's say, like he bought 2 items and then they cost this price or this value. So we want to know how much, like the total of his cart. Okay, this I'm not sure we will be able to pass in a parameter for this, but let's see what happens along. So let's say item 1, and then the item 1 is called is 100. Okay, and let's see item 2 is called 250. Okay, so now we want to return the total of the cart, or the total of the values of how much he needs to pay to the tender or the cashier. Okay, so total price, and we know we start by saying a function, then it will be opening and closing curly brackets, and then we would say that return, which is very important, item. So we start with the this dot item 1 plus this dot item 2. Now the only thing different here is this time we're using a plus, but since they are both integers now, it will do mathematical operations on it rather than say obey concatenation. We obey add it, obey sum up amay. Let's come down here and try to call the shopping cart object to console dot log shopping cart dot total price. Okay, all right, now let's see what will happen here when we refresh. I didn't get any response, which is weird. this is what item 1 plus this is what item 2. Wow, I wish to understand what's happening here. Let me see this. Let me see what this guy is trying to do. Let me just take out this from here. All right, let's go back to what we did here. This is actually okay, except that I don't know what's happening here right now. It's supposed, let me just do console log and see what's happening. The return is there, so it's supposed to return us all these stuff. All right, great. Now, say share BBC because now we have to debug now. So there are times that you will notice that your functions are not working or your code is not working as expected, even though we expect to be working. So these are the points that you need to go through your code and look at what is happening. I'm sure I took off errors or something. And so the errors thing I took here was saying that missing whatever after the property list. And if you look at it, anytime you create a property, we need to separate them by comma, right? And so here, from the item 2 to the total price, there was no comma here. So that's why the app wasn't returning anything, because it was crashing. But now my untaking like errors here, so that doesn't show any errors beyond I see. So now this time, now let's try again and see if we would get a response and not in a response. Now we will say, am I a response as 350, which is good because then we have been able to debug and found why something didn't happen. Okay, something why it didn't happen. So you understand why simple stuff can get your code crashing and then you don't understand and you don't understand what's happening, because everything in programming is important. So make sure say you always check your keywords and your name of variables, because variables are case sensitive. Okay, to make sure say you are typing the same way over friend and things should be in order as you want it. Great. Now that we know this now let's assume say now we know the total price, and then we have in our pocket, okay, we have in our pocket say like 500 cedis. Now we want to know how much would remain if we buy these items. Let's add one more property and say wallet, okay, and let me just say 500 or 400 for example. Now I need to bring in a comma again so that we don't get any issue. Now we're going to create another property again that will tell us how much it will remain in our pocket if we choose to buy these items from our wallets. Okay, so let's see. Balance remains. Let me just do this and say function. Okay, now for example, main pass in the wallet here, then we will pass in the wallet as a parameter or an argument to this function. Okay, so wallet, let's do this and let's start this. So what we want to do is that we want to subtract our wallet, the shopping cart from our wallet and see how much it will remain. So we say return, and this time we will call the total price because the total price already has it. So we will just do wallet, as the wallet will be an argument that we will pass inside, minus this dot total price. Okay, so this is how now this wallet here reference that you pass inside as a bachelor and say your bottom sika AC into say say 21 hour so it's easy as that. That's what we are trying to say, and we always need a return word so that we get something back. Okay, now if you come to call this console.log shopping cart dot balance remains, then we pass in like our money is 400. So let's see what will happen when we pass in as our balance as 400. Let's see what will happen. Let me take these guys out so that we don't get any interference with any other guy, so we only see that response. You see we got 50. Now if you look at it, let me log out the total price so that you will see what the difference is. So 350. So 400 minus 350 would remain what? 50. So that's how we call a property a method, and then we pass in an argument. So it's simple as that. And you're confusing there. This is all about it. You see, we created an object with two properties. One would calculate the total price, and the other one would let us know how much would remain in our pocket in case we decide to go ahead to buy these items in our cart. Okay, so we see we have 150 here. If we take off 350 from 500, and that is all about it. Okay, so now that you know how it is, we will end the video here, and I'll urge you to keep on practicing. We've learned variables declarations, we've learned about functions, and today we've covered about object. Okay, so you can see that the three videos are combining, because now we create a variable here. Okay, now we create a comment here first, now we create a variable here, now we create like an object, and we still define like a variables or properties, and we came back to learn how to also creating functions, and we already learned how to create function already, but then we call it method here, and calling a method, we learn how to create a function and name it, call it as a method, and we also learned about how to pass in a parameter for the function to receive as an argument and work on it and do all this mathematical operations. And today you've learned something new, concatenation, and then which is very important. It's something that you'll be doing around all programming languages. You know, I think so far, no, we are picking up. It's very good. If you have any issues, please leave in a comment or contact me on IG, and then I'll be very glad to assist you solve this issue. So as always, like and subscribe, share with your friends, and hope to see the next video. Yes, I hope to see you in the next video, because don't run away. Programming is very important, so you have to be around.